Okay, I want you to think about your shoes for a moment. How are they feeling? Are they comfortable? These most comfortable shoes you own? How many of you have more comfortable shoes at home that you really wish you were wearing right now? Yes? Being up here on the platform, I try to tell people this anytime we have somebody up on the platform, but if you're down on the main floor here and you look straight ahead, the first thing you do is see somebody's shoes and seeing if they're polished. So, we try to tell people, polish your shoes before you go up on the platform. I don't remember my first goal I ever had in my life. I think it was probably for a red bike. But shoes had something to do with the first goal that I can remember. I had a pair of shoes that were so comfortable. In those days, we called them tennis shoes. Now they're called athletic shoes. And I hear that there's a new pair coming out that tell you how far you've run and what your heartbeat is. And I think they're coming out next week or the following week. They're only $275 a pair. Well, mine weren't that expensive. They were tennis shoes, and I wore them, and I wore them, and I wore them, and they were just such amazing shoes. They had holes in the right places, and they were stretched out where they were supposed to be stretched out, and they were dirty. They were so dirty that we dare not wash them because they would disintegrate. Can any of you associate with okay. I love these shoes, absolutely love these shoes. My mother hated these shoes. She just, Well, one day I was at school, and when I came home, there was the big trash can by the driveway, and the trash collectors were just driving up the street, and they had just emptied the trash can. But out in the middle of the street were my shoes. And evidently, they had been put on top of the trash can, and when they went to empty the trash into the trash truck, the shoes had fallen out into the street. I picked up my shoes. I looked at them. I went in the house and I go, Mom! And she goes, oh, darn. You were throwing out my tennis shoes. Yeah, it was a very difficult day for me. Obviously I still need to do some forgiveness work on this. I won't even tell you the story about the colander we had in the kitchen for draining pasta. But anyway, these shoes got me to thinking. At that age, my first goal was, what did I want to be? And I just knew I wanted to be a garbage collector. That there could be nothing finer than being a garbage collector. You see, I could wear those shoes and nobody would care. I could get messy and nobody would care. I could wear any clothes I wanted. I don't know who invented the necktie, but I really want to talk to that person because they're not comfortable. Garbage collector, you can wear whatever it is you want to wear. And the truck, this great big garbage truck. 3 guys came through the line after the 9 o'clock service and they said, we wanted to be garbage collectors too. And I said, why? And they said it was the truck. It was all about the truck. So my path did not lead me in that direction. I don't know about your life's journey, but as I look back on my life's journey, I found that, sometimes I would take a step and it would go this way. Maybe my goal was up here and this step would go here. And then your next step would actually be over here. And all of a sudden you get a new goal and it's way over here. And then your next step would be actually down here and your goal's down there. I never intended to become a unity minister. I didn't even like going to church. And it was a unity church. My path has taken so many different directions to bring me to where I'm at today. It's amazing. Well, today I want to do something a little different than what we usually do in our services. I don't know if we've ever done this before, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to take you to an unexpected place. I want to apologize to you. You see, I think we've been misleading you For years and years, we've been misleading you. And I think we've given you the wrong impression. We didn't mean to. And actually, there's some truth with what we've been sharing with you, but we have been misleading you. And it's about Unity's teachings. You know, Unity has what they call the 5 basic teachings. I really don't like that term. I think basic makes it seem too superficial, because they're not superficial at all. I call them the 5 essence teachings, the essence teachings of Unity, because they're very deep teachings, very profound teachings. These teachings can absolutely change your life. You know, we have a teaching on prayer. We say that prayer works. And Unity School, Unity Village had their World Day of Prayer this last Thursday. And from this ministry alone, we sent 5,400 prayer requests to Unity Village for the World Day of Prayer. So we've been praying with you folks and all those people that you put on your prayer request form. Prayer works. We believe one of our essence teachings is that there's one presence and one power in the universe, and that's God. We don't believe in a duality. We believe in God. God is the only presence. God is the only power. And if we really get to the point of believing that and take it deep within our soul and our heart, our lives will change dramatically. One of our teachings is that we have the essence of God within us, that each and every one of you has the God essence within you. You know, in our mission statement that we spoke today, we call this God essence the Christ. We said we're here to awaken and express the Christ nature, this nature that resides within us. We don't all express it to the same level. Some of us have more work to do on it than others, but we have that potential within us. That's one of our essence teachings. It's the third teaching that I think we've misled you on. And I do apologize. The third teaching, if you remember, is the teaching that says our thoughts have power. Remember that teaching? Our thoughts have power. Okay. Well, it's true. You know, researchers are showing us that when they're doing studies, those people with positive thoughts usually get much better results than those people with the negative thoughts. You go into the healthcare industry and they will tell you that if you have 2 people who have the same condition, the one with the positive thoughts, the positive attitude, have a better chance of recovery than the one who has the negative thought. It's like when they did the prayer studies. There's over 450 prayer studies. And some of the prayer studies found that prayer can have a negative impact on people. And when they researched that further, they found out that people, when they were part of this prayer study, said, "Oh man, it's so bad, you're going to pray for me? Well, it's God's will that I must be sick." And they just started thinking negatively. And that was the negative impact that they had in their life. So, you know, positive thinking does have an impact, but we are misleading you. You know, to summarize that teaching, it's thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. You heard that from here before. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Let's affirm that together. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Very simple teaching. Let's do it again. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. It's misleading. I'm here to tell you it's absolutely misleading. And I'll come back to that in a minute. How many of you have goals right now in your life? Okay, about a third of you. You know, in the world of management, they talk about BHAG, B-H-A-G, and those are the big, hairy, audacious goals. Big, hairy, audacious goals. Just remember B-H-A-G. Big, hairy, audacious goals. How many of you have big, hairy, audacious goals in front of you right now? Good for you. Good for you. Big, hairy, audacious goals. It's okay not to have big, hairy, audacious goals. We can have simple goals, like staying awake through Bob's service today. We just... But I want everyone just to think about a goal in your life. You know, maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's a job. I want you to take out your bulletin. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's getting out of a relationship. Maybe it's to lose 5 pounds. Maybe it's to bake cookies. Don't plan on those 2 goals working well together. Okay, you're either going to need your bulletin or one of the pads that's in the back of the pews. But there's a flap in your bulletin. Everybody see the flap at the top? It talks about Betsy Atkinson over here, who gave the Abundance Core Value Stone to Donna Sherman, who's over here. And at the very bottom of this, it says My Notes. We're going to need that section that says My Notes. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a moment to think of a goal, either a big, hairy, audacious goal or just even a small goal. But I want you to write a goal in there. Any goal, just one goal. Just write it out right now. I can wait. Okay, just take a pen, a piece of paper, write out that goal. And I don't know how many people have come up in this congregation. We have quite a few authors in this congregation. I don't know how many people have come up and say, I want to write a book. If you want to write a book, write that down. Write that down as one of your goals. And remember, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Okay, so we've got these goals written down. And now I'm going to ask you just to take that goal and just close your eyes for a moment. Just visualize it. Just see yourself as having achieved that goal. See the joy on your face. Just feel the joy in your heart. Doesn't it feel wonderful? So wonderful to have achieved that goal. Okay, take a deep breath. You've got your goal written down. We know that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind sometimes. I want to share with you a story. Hold this bulletin. We're going to come right back to it. You know how when you're doing something, things come your way to reinforce what you're doing? I was writing my talk, and I got an email from Bruce Woodruff, Bruce back there. And in the email was a story, and it just fit in so perfectly with my talk. I want to share this story with you, and you've probably seen it on the internet. It's about this woman who lived in Laguna, California. And her daughter and grandkids lived in Lake Arrowhead, California. Anybody been to Lake Arrowhead, California? Okay, you're going to know exactly what this woman was talking about then. The daughter kept calling her mother up saying, Mom, you've got to come up and you've got to come and see us. There's the most amazing thing you've got to see up here. And Mom said, yeah, well, sometime. And they kept talking back and forth, said, Mom, sometimes not going to happen. The site is only here for a limited period of time. Hop in your car, drive up here. Come up here and see this. Okay, maybe next Tuesday I will do it. So next Tuesday came around and Mom didn't really feel like it, but daughter kept saying, come on up, see the grandkids. So Mom hopped in her car. She drove up to Lake Arrowhead, California. If you ever drive, I've been there once, if you ever drive to Lake Arrowhead, California, it's a very narrow road, and it winds around and around and up and a sheer cliff down the one side, and if an oncoming car is coming at you, you've just got to be so very careful. And this 2-hour drive from Laguna to Lake Arrowhead, this mom was just, she had fog, she had rain, she was upset, and so she gets to her daughter's house and goes inside and sits down, and the daughter says, let's go for a ride. Her mom said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to drive anywhere else today. I'll just hug my grandkids and just rest for a little bit. And the daughter said, no, you've got to come and see this. It's really, really amazing. You don't want to miss this. So the daughter said it's a very short ride. So the mother got in the car, and they drove for about 20 minutes, turned onto a very small gravel road, saw a small church, and on the side beside the church was a sign that said Daffodil Garden. And so they got out and they walked up, and this is what they saw. This glorious, glorious sight, this gold all over this mountain peak. And she said that the flowers are majestic swirling patterns, and not just the yellow daffodils. They had orange and white and salmon pink and of course the butter yellow, all kinds of different varieties. And the mom said, well, I asked, who did this? And the daughter said, well, the woman who lives on this property, that's her home. So they walked up to the house, and there was a poster. And on the poster it said, answers to your questions. Number 1, 50,000 bulbs. Number 2, one at a time, by one woman 2 hands, 2 feet, 1 brain. Number 3, started in 1958. And that was a life-changing moment for this woman. 1 bulb at a time, year after year, 1 day at a time, creating such magnificence and beauty. And this woman said it taught her one of the greatest principles she has ever learned in her life. Her daughter said, it makes me sad in a way. And the mother said, why does it make you sad? She said, well, if I would have started doing something a long time ago, imagine what I could have created. Just imagine. Out of this came something called the daffodil principle. It does no good to think about the lost hours. But let me share with you the daffodil principle. It says, stop waiting. Stop waiting until your car or home is paid off. Stop waiting until you get a new car or home. Stop waiting until your kids leave the house. Stop waiting until you go back to school, until you finish school, until you clean the house, until you organize the garage, until you clean off your desk, until you lose 10 pounds, until you gain 10 pounds, until you get married, until you get a divorce, until you have kids, until the kids go to school, until you retire, until summer, until spring, until winter, until fall. Stop waiting until you die. There's no better time than right now. Okay, here's the kicker. How many of you have done treasure maps? They don't work. Well, sometimes they work, but here's the kicker. And I really didn't become aware of this. I went to my doctor's. I had my physical this last week, and I've known my doctor for 30 years. And he said, and everything turned out great. And he said, Bob, you're going to live to be 90. I thought, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. He said, there's 4 things you need to do to have a really wonderful, healthy life. So, if you want these 4 things, he tells me these 4 things every year. He said, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to quit smoking. I don't smoke. Check. So I'm in good shape there. He said, the second thing you've got to do is you have to learn something new all the time. So my wife and I, we get these DVDs, and now we just load them down on the computer, where we try to learn something that we had no knowledge about before. We've done European art history. I've done a calculus review. I've studied black holes. We're now doing a class on how we learn. So learn something new, check. He said, Bob, you got to watch what you eat. Well, I watch every mouthful. Check. He said, Bob, I want you to think about exercising. And I said, Mark, when I get up in the morning, I do think about exercising as I'm laying there in bed. Check. Remember, thoughts held in mind. Right, so if I sit there and think about exercising, it's going to produce. And, I told my doctor this, and he said, Bob, I want to tell you something. Thoughts held in mind produce thoughts held in mind. You've got to do something with them. Treasure maps are treasure maps. You've got to do something with it. You've got to take a step. What is a step? Think about the goal that you wrote down. I want you to think about the step. What is the first daffodil bulb that you can plant? Unity is, from my perspective, a Christ-based ministry. We believe that this essence of God, this Christ, resides within everyone. And we look to Jesus Christ as our way shower, would follow in Jesus' example. And in the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark is called the action gospel, because Jesus takes action in that gospel a lot. You'll find out if you read your Bible that before he did the major miracles that he did, you'll often read that Jesus went up to the mountaintop. And what that means is Jesus went up a time of prayer. So he went time of prayer, he went to the mountaintop, and then he came down and he took action. He didn't just talk about the kingdom of heaven. He didn't just talk about wholeness. He didn't just talk about life and abundance. He became the expression of God out into the world. He worked on the Sabbath, heaven forbid. He walked on water, He calmed the sea. He multiplied the food. He threw the money changers out of the temple. He healed the sick and he raised the dead. And, you know, your goal may not be to raise the dead. But what action, what step can you take to bring forth your goal? You know, and I know that taking a step can be very, very scary, especially if you don't know where the step is going to lead. But darn it, minister's going to say darn it, but darn it, if you don't take the step, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to take that step. I'm going to share with you one of two things is going to happen when you take that step. The first thing that may happen is that you take the step towards your goal, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be amazing. Some things are going to begin to unfold for you and allowing you to take the next step. And I'm going to share with you, you don't have to have your steps all figured out. Just figure out the next one. For those of you who like to have your steps all figured out, like my wife does, she was at the 9 o'clock service, so I can say this now. Just be open, because the next step may change. Just really, really be open, but take that step. The other thing that may happen to you is that it may be the wrong step. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You know, the thing about taking the wrong step is you're going to get obstacle after obstacle after obstacle in your way, and it's going to tell you that you need to move off into a different direction. Perhaps you'll need to make course adjustments as you move along. And that's terrific. But if you take the wrong step, there's a concept called serendipity. And the concept of serendipity says, just be open to greater blessings than you could ever possibly imagine. So if you take the wrong step, just open yourself to greater blessings than you could ever possibly imagine. And your next step will be revealed. It may not be the path you're going, but your next step will be revealed. I was thinking about people who took the wrong step and some of the results of taking the wrong step. And I've just got a few that I listed. Steps that didn't work brought us x-rays, Velcro, sticky notes, popsicles, cheese, rubber, silly putty, and on and on and on. I was thinking about the Hubble Space Telescope. You know, that sends beautiful images back here. But remember when Hubble first went up and everything was blurry and it became the butt of jokes? Everybody was joking about the Hubble Space Telescope. What people didn't realize at that time is just the outer edge of the mirror was off 1/50th of the thickness of a hair. And that's what caused the blurred images. And that's easy to fix. They could change the lenses and the cameras and everything. It's something really easy to fix. So as they were getting ready to fix it, they also remembered that when the Hubble Space Telescope went from light to dark to light to dark, there was a little shake. And what they found, because they had to fix this mirror, was that the solar panels were not on a firm foundation, that what they had designed wasn't going to work, and if they didn't change it, those solar panels were going to collapse in and the whole thing would crash. So because of a mistake they made in 1/50th of the width of a hair, they were able to totally renovate the Hubble spacecraft, and it's considered one of NASA's biggest successes because of a mistake. Okay. I want you to think about your goal for a moment. I want you to go back to your bulletin, pull your bulletin out or your piece of paper out. Remember where you wrote down your goal? I want you to write right underneath it the first step, one step that you can take to achieving that goal. You're not going to share this with anybody else, so don't worry about it. Just one step that you can achieve to achieve that goal. You know, and the first step is writing down the first step. So write that step out. When that's done, I want you to remember perhaps one of the greatest commercials ever seen on television. And that was Nike, when they said, just do it. I want you to write, just do it, under that step. Just do it. Then I want you to take your bulletin, take that folded piece and fold it the other way, crease it, and fold it back the original way, and crease it, and fold it back the other way, and crease it, and back to the original way, and crease it. Now I want to hear the sound of tearing as you tear that page off of your bulletin. I want you to take this home with you. I don't want you to put it on a treasure map. I want you to put it in your pocket. I want you to bring it out every time you empty your pocket. I want you to just do it. Whatever it is that's on there, just do it. And then email the church, go on Facebook, and say, I did it. That's all you have to do. Just say, I did it. This one step. You with me? Okay, so how many of you are going to do it? About 3/4. That's better than 9 o'clock. I had 3. You know, I just want to share with you the world, and I don't have to tell you this, you know this. The world in which we live really needs some big, bold moves to move us in different directions. And the world in which we live can really use our prayers and steps, can really use action steps. So my statement for you today is take your truth as you know it and stand in that truth. Stand in that truth. Think positive thoughts, but dare to do positive things. Dare to take your dream and to stand in that dream and to take action. Dare to make a difference. Our world is ready for someone to go forth and make a difference. Folks, just do it.